Okay. Are we live? I'm here. Sorry that the brand new spanking starting soon screen still ended up going a little longer than expected. I'm adjusting this camera because I'm putting it back in its original position since I had a job interview about 45 minutes ago that admittedly did go kind of well. Um, but these days I don't want to say dubious, but I just temper expectations when it comes to all job interviews, honestly, just because of the nature of the game, just blanketed. Um, but I will admit that actually went by smoothly, and I get a good vibe from where I'm working at, which means that it'll hurt all the more when. But we'll see. We'll see. I actually did enjoy this interview, so um, I had one like this caliber. But I had the job interview, and then afterwards, right before I went live, I had the terrible idea of calling up an optometrist just to get a quote, to see what's up. Is this thing updated? Here we go. The analytics. CM Bronk, welcome to the stream. Skelly Bones, did you like the starting soon screen? I figured like that's one of the few things, one of the other things that came into my brain when you sent over the finalized artwork was like, okay, well, I now have a starting soon and ending stream end screen. That way, we're that much closer to things feeling a little bit more official. Right? But yeah, I made the mistake of calling up an optometrist to see what it would be like to schedule an appointment. And naturally they put me on hold, and the hold went on a little longer. I almost kind of gave up, but she picked up, and we went through the whole rigmarole, and they were looking for like a medical card that I don't have. Not only that, but they're booked until September. I'm like, it really is going to be like this, where like if you schedule an appointment with anything, doctor, optometrist, dentist, whatever, I'm like, they're gonna be like, all right, whatever problem you have, see you in 2 months, maybe even 3. Like, fuck, dude. Like, what's the point? I could be dead by then. I'm better off. I'm better off like taking care of it at home, whatever it is. Thank you, Skelly. Brian's a dishwasher. Welcome. Sent Unk Alert for 440 joules. How do you do it? How do I see that? Wait, is this it? Fan funding. Sent Unk Alert for 400. Oh, is that what that supers and highlighted memberships show up here? If you change filters, this would. Is that what this is? Fan funding? Ew. Sent. How do you do that? Gross. What are the jewels like like is that actual money, or is it just like a thing that lets you highlight like a message, or is it like the channel points on Twitch? Is it something like that? No, but yeah, anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna have to look at a different optometrist that hopefully does take I have a what you call it, IHP, and to see if there's a different optometrist that makes it a little bit more simpler, and then on top of that, it's not booked as. There was one other one that said, "Yeah, we're booked until August," and that still sounded long, but beats September. Jesus. You took Kratos out the thumbnail. Wait, Brian, did you see the original one? Yeah. Okay, so there was a bit of a shakeup because it was purely going to be nothing but just McFarlane today, and it technically kind of still is. It's like 80% or 75% still McFarlane. And if we have time, we'll still tackle big sweaty Kratos. But literally within the hour to an hour and a half of going to bed last night, there was a giant, there was a completely different kind of load dropping. Then I was like, oh, okay, never mind. We got to talk about this. I feel more inclined to talk about this than I do the sweaty Kratos. I'm sorry. So yeah, we're doing a little bit of a punt, but like I said, if there's still enough time, I will want to talk about that the God of War stuff. And even then, the God of War stuff is going to be a very brief overview since, like I said, not only since then, they've been officially revealed and up for pre-order within a span of a couple of days. But at the same time, what I have to say is going to be more or less on the brief side, if I'm being honest. Oh man, Belgium just got eliminated. Belgium seemed like one of the ones. I'm digging this very like. So that was all you took. Oh yeah, I already read that. All right. So in what could be seen as really strong, solid momentum for McFarlane Toys going into con season, if you can call it that, ending with, quote unquote ending, because I feel like conventions are very year round, and I feel like now more so than ever, especially since, let's not mince words here. I do feel like the concept and the hype around Comic-Con, for me personally, is kind of dying down. And I think one of the things that is also sort of fueling that a little bit is just how turned off people were this year with Anime Expo. I heard Anime Expo was like a giant disaster this year in terms of like lines and overcrowdedness and logistics and accommodations, food, water, drink, all that kind of stuff. So, it sends a very interesting precedent going into Comic-Con time towards the end of this month. But that's not going to stop certain companies from wanting to build momentum around what they have to show. And amongst them is going to be McFarlane Toys, who decided to just go all out this week with plenty of reveals and pre-orders abound. Some of which they even announced this morning with no sort of hint or preamble or little bit of a tease. They just straight up, really quickly here, dumped a couple of like new Fallout stuff because, let's not mince words. Let's not stand on ceremony here. This isn't gonna be really looked at the same way as the Spider-Man stuff. The Batman and even potentially Spider-Man stuff. It's not gonna be talked like that. So this morning we had some Fallout stuff. Paladin Dance from Fallout 4 for pre-order, which, again, let's call an ace a spade, a spade, as the saying goes. This is just a repaint of some of the Fallout show stuff with a different head from Paladin Dance from the Fallout 4 game. Outside of that, it's just a repaint with the different coats there on the main of the body, and that's about it. And he's already freely available for pre-order. Again, there was no tease. I think the most that I even saw was maybe a bit of a leaked inbox product shot. I'm sorry, not even a product shot, but it was like an in-hand shot of someone overseas handling it. Same thing with Joshua Graham from Fallout New Vegas. I gotta be honest, I can't remember this guy, and I did play New Vegas, but I only played it once. So maybe he was like a skipped side quest that I didn't bother to play or go through. I don't know, might have missed it. Incentive to want to replay Fallout New Vegas again. And then the T-45 military armor from Fallout 76. Which looks completely coated in paint and is probably going to be a nightmare to move the articulation for. And it's a red platinum. And amongst, the blind bags that they kind of teased a little while ago during that Fallout themed live stream that they did, a little bit of that, and then of course with a final little tweet here by the Todd father himself, Todd McFarlane here, along with Brian. We're going to be going live from San Diego for Walmart Collecticon, July 24th. So they're going to be doing their yearly showcase for Walmart Collectathon. But I'm also hoping that same Wednesday they're going to be doing, just like last year and I think also the year before, a Comic-Con focused live stream where it's not just for the Walmart stuff that's going to be Walmart exclusive, but frankly, the blanketed stuff where they're finally going to, talk about some of the things that are mainly hyped. Predominantly, of course, the big one that we all really want to, camera's tilting. Okay. The main ones, well, I guess I should say the main one, Absolute Batman. Hopefully they'll talk about that during that Comic-Con, that main live stream, not the Walmart one, but the main one which is mainly spearheaded by AJ, Claudio, and then maybe John will make an appearance live from their venue during the McFarlane Toys Skyline event, of which your boy did get invited. So just letting you guys know, I actually did get invited to the Comic-Con event, the Skyline one, to see what's up. Will I go? I honestly don't know. This year, more than ever, things are a little tough in terms of money, and that does encompass logistics, lodgings, and travel. To the point where driving to and from San Diego just for one event is honestly not worth it. And that combined with the way things are going right now with McFarlane Toys for the remainder of the year being the sunset year and Mattel taking over the license, I'm letting you guys know right now for the live stream crew and possibly the replay squad, whoever catches this on VOD, I appreciate the fact that after all the shit talking and all the criticism that I've done towards McFarlane Toys, I will still extended the invitation. And if I had money to burn and money was no problem, etc., most definitely, let's go. If I was like doing this YouTube channel full time, I'll be like, yeah, content for the channel, absolutely, I'm going. But I am in a place where to and from San Diego, like the amount of money spent on food and gas is kind of insane just for one quick event on that Wednesday the 22nd, especially since I will be going by myself because my girlfriend this year versus the other years, the reason for why my girlfriend was able to go the past couple of years, not only last year to the McFarlane event, but then the year before that to the InArt event, as well as also Comic-Con proper, because we actually did manage to go to Comic-Con inside the actual convention. She will not be able to come with me because this year she does have a job that's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And she would have to request that day off. Obviously, hopefully this makes sense, but if I'm going with my girlfriend, I'm not just going for one day. We might as well spend an extra day in San Diego as a couple to check out the sights, go to a restaurant, have a good time. So it's automatic. Going with her automatically means that it's both business and pleasure. For the first day, going to that McFarlane event, and then the second day for us to at least spend one night. But then, by default, that means that where are we spending the night? This is Comic-Con time. It's already July 10th. You don't think that hotel companies and Airbnb hosts are going to upcharge the ass by now? If I take it... Let me go on my phone. Just for shits and giggles. Do I have the Airbnb app? I thought I did. I don't. I'm going to have to... Let me do it on the website here real quick. But yeah, it's starting to not... I haven't checked out a place. And by now, you honestly think that even in the areas around San Diego... I'm not talking about downtown San Diego. No, that's probably like $400 or $500 on just one night. So let's say... from the 22nd to 23rd, just one adult. Let me just talk about myself. Like I said, I'm not even counting my girlfriend because, like I said, she would have to request 2 days off. That's already money lost. Some of the okay, I thought it was gonna be worse. There's actually somebody saying 174, which is not terrible, but it's still not the greatest. And then there's a place near Encanto, a place called Encanto, that's 152. But that means that I'm gonna have to drive like an extra 30 to 40 minutes to go into downtown San Diego, where we're gonna have our McFarlane event. Should there be an in-art event? You get what I'm saying? Like, all that is adding up. Yeah, Blackout Mike, Tony Katya, welcome to stream. It's all adding up. And like Skelly Bone says here, if you don't think you can afford it, then yeah, play it safe and hope maybe next year things will be better. Yeah. So right now, I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought about it, and I told myself regarding San Diego this year, because I think I have gotten a couple of comments of people saying, are you doing anything for San Diego Comic Con regarding McFarlane Toys, regarding InArt, regarding UPF, regarding these companies that I follow. Finally, gonna put out my statement here. Yes, I did get invited to the San Diego Skyline event, but the chances of me going are incredibly low because of simple logistics. Nothing against McFarlane. I generally do want to go and see what they have. God forbid, this year where things are looking dicey, they actually have a prototype of Absolute Batman and the 2025 Batman, the Fraction Jimenez design prototype, even if they're unpainted, up on a table somewhere. And I'm like, great. But that's if they do that. And last year they didn't really do that. They had figures that were only up for pre-order and weren't released, but they were already up for pre-order and already shown off. It was kind of like this little in-between phase. And the actual proper reveals that I've never seen before, they were done later that evening via a live stream, like around 6 o'clock. Like by the time me and my girlfriend got back to the Airbnb, they finally did that live stream where they were like, hey, here's this. And that's where we saw new stuff that we hadn't seen before. So I'm like, well, that's something that I can see at home. So like I said, I thought about it and I thought about it, and I told myself the only way that I will say, all right, let's do it. The only caveat after thinking about it is if InArt this shows up in San Diego, which so far all signs are pointing to yes, but the ultimate caveat here, it's the same day as the McFarlane event, just not at the same time. Same day, but not at the same time. Usually when InArt does their events, it's like a very all-day thing. Like the first time that I got invited to InArt's event in 2024, it was... and let me switch the screen back to the McFarlane feed. That way people know that I'm talking about McFarlane and all that stuff. In 2024, when I got invited to the InArt event, it was late in the evening. It was like around 6:30ish. It was about 6. And it ran from like 6 to like 8 o'clock in the evening, a couple hours. But then last year's event was a bit more all dayish, where it was from 1 to about 7ish. And you could arrive anytime because it had like this walk-in sort of approach to it at the winery sort of venue that they had across the street from the convention center. If they have something similar like that, where it's, like I said, a very all-day thing that you could just kind of drop by whenever you want, within reason, but it has to be the same day as the McFarlane event, because the way I saw it is that, okay, yeah, driving to and from San Diego is a lot of gas, but pragmatically, if I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, in this case, 2 events, 2, pop-ups in the form of the McFarlane Skyline event and the InArt in the same day, then that to and from, I feel, as an adult, is more worth it. Get me? Like, spending that amount of money on gas and even food in the nearby area, I'm like, well, but this now turns into an all-day thing. It's not just one stop for just a couple hours and then come back. And I'm like, all right, all that gas and staying jammed in traffic for what? That's the thing too, is like when the McFarlane event is over, that's peak traffic time. I'm not about to, I might as well just go park somewhere and just chill. Whereas if the InArt event is the same day with McFarlane, and this turns into an all-day business endeavor, that to me makes much more sense. So that's the only way that I will do this thing, is if the Inart event is the same day as the McFarlane event. Is there a chance that that's going to happen? Unfortunately, no, because the last 2 years that Inart did an event, it was on a Friday. It was not on Wednesday. And it jogged my memory. I'm like, yeah, it was two completely separate days with one whole day in the middle. And that's why me and my girlfriend had the setup with Airbnb last year, was because Wednesday was McFarlane, Thursday was us just cruising through the San Diego area, going to the beach, having breakfast and dinner in some of the local eateries, chilling at the Airbnb at nighttime, and then Friday checking out, but then on our way out tackling the Inart event, and then heading home. It was this whole itinerary thing, but she went with me. We both didn't have jobs at the time. I had YouTube bringing in a little bit of income. She had unemployment at the time, but now things are not that leisurely. And like I said, she's got a job, which means that she would have to request days off, but then that's a cut into her paycheck. So a lot of things are just not adding up to make it substantial. So, like I said, pondering it over, I'm just like, yeah, the only way that this can happen is if Inart schedules their day on the same day as the McFarlane event on Wednesday. And the chances of that are very unlikely, since the last two Inart events have been on Fridays. So there's a really good chance that this year as well it's also going to be on a Friday. But not impossible. There's one little Hail Mary detail that makes it possible that Inart could do their event on Wednesday as opposed to Friday, like the last 2 years, because they posted an Instagram post talking about the recent event that they had the pop-up at, and at the bottom of the event, at the bottom of the post, they said, next stop, San Diego. Let me see if I can pull it up on their, I doubt this will work. I doubt this is going to work, but let me see. Let me see. I think it's this one. Yeah, here we go. Making it look like goddamn Majora's Mask here. The final day. The Hangzhou pop-up in the moment event. Heartfelt thank you to all the collectors who visited and helped create these unforgettable memories together. The journey is far from over. Next stop, San Diego. So they're very much inclined to show up at San Diego. Now, I contacted them to see if there was any updates, and they told me that details are still TBD regarding them showing up in San Diego. But their intent, again, going back to the word intent, nothing is set in stone, but their intent, they said, in my correspondence with them, was that they wanted to have this year both an off-site and on-site event, meaning they want to show up both the way they did the last couple of years with their own little venue that's not in the convention, but also have a booth set up in the convention. So my little wishful thinking is, if their, off-site thing would be on Wednesday, so that then during the prime days of Comic-Con, Thursday through Saturday even, they focus all their attention on whatever booth they prop up inside of the convention. And this will force them to be like, okay, our offsite needs to happen Wednesday, because then Thursday through Saturday, we're going to be inside the convention showcasing our stuff there. So that's the Hail Mary detail. It makes me go, hopefully they do make their event the same day as McFarlane's on Wednesday. Because then if they do, like I said, it makes much more sense. And I'll treat this whole thing as a business trip and be like, focus. I'll treat this whole thing as a business trip and be like, all right, the driving to and from San Diego at least will be much more worth it, because it's going to be an all-day thing. From like 1 o'clock to about 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock. Film as much at the McFarlane event. Go get myself something to eat, and then from 4:30 to 7 o'clock-ish or whatever, film as much as I can at wherever the Inart event ends up being, and then go home. And then by then, hopefully the traffic will dissipate because it's already gonna be like 8 o'clock, 8:30. No need to worry about the hefty jams unless God forbid there's an accident. So that's what I'm pulling for. But if that doesn't happen, if two things happen where either I get invited to the in-art event, but they say, hey, it's on Friday, then can't do it. It just, that means I have to drive to and from Wednesday and to and from Friday. That's probably going to be more so than getting an Airbnb. And even then, getting an Airbnb right now is not, or a hotel. And even then, the prices for San Diego or the nearby, or even the nearby San Diego area, it's gonna be like $300-400. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to spend that money for something that, like I said, yeah, it's gonna go up on the channel, but the channel's not making that kind of money. It's the viewership. I'm just being completely transparent. The viewership is not enough to warrant this. It isn't. I'll be losing more money than gaining it. That's why I'm like, yeah. So that's my only caveat to going to that San Diego McFarlane event, is if InArt schedules it the same day so that I can do both. If that doesn't happen, then yeah, unfortunately I won't be going this year, guys. I'll keep it strictly to just reacting to whatever live streams they do, whether it be InArt themselves or McFarlane or even UPF, who's got an event going on right now. Also, going back to Tony Kaya, sorry I didn't answer your question. Are we going to get Clark Kent, Chris Reeve, and Unmasked Keaton, and Tupac, Batman 66? I mean, the leaks show it in there. Like, Tony, I don't know if you went over the document of those leaks recently, the one that had like the little highlighter green header, and in the boxes, it showed it in there. And if this week's reveals and pre-order launches are anything to go by, I hate to say it, but anytime there's a leaked document, it's now turning out to be true. Like, there's no sense of leakage control, over at InArt, because an awful lot of the stuff that was showcased this week was in fact on those documents. So you're asking me, Tony, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And if I was a betting man, I would say that the when would be San Diego Comic-Con. Do not be surprised if that Unmasked Keaton and that Reeve Clark Kent get shown off during either the live stream on Wednesday, because Paternia, I think, also shared this on his socials, that the schedule for Friday, the panel schedule for Friday at San Diego Comic-Con went up today, actually, this morning. And I believe both Marvel Legends and Hasbro were listed in that. But I'll go to that in a second. I don't want to get too distracted. But we did have McFarlane not only get shown up. Actually, hold on. I got to segue myself a little bit better here. Because let's go over to Paternia. Because it was through Paternia and then a little bit here on Reddit via Krauser Rick Instagram posts. These actually started to make the rounds at the beginning of the week, which were these. God, I hate how after just a few minutes my voice starts to go out. That's what's called getting old. I really don't understand how some people can go like 5 or 6 hours with stamina on live streams, because I don't have that. I really don't. Anyways, in-hand photos of the page punchers for what was, like I said, some entries in that leaked document, including not the Kingdom Come. No, not Kingdom Come, but Alex Ross, Superman, and Batman. Now, admittedly, the Superman looks like a retool of a lot of pieces that I've seen before, and that's not to say that Batman isn't too far off, but there's something kind of novel about the head sculpt on Batman. And then we had some in-hand photos of the 89 comic Tim Burton Batman for both Batman himself and what was in the Elseworld of alternate timelines, what was going to be the Billy D. Williams Two-Face should there have been a third Batman movie from Tim Burton. And then likewise, Krauserick also had some Instagram photos of other in-hand images of this Beast Boy, complete with pizza, the gold label edition, as well as, I guess, a revamped version of the question, because we've gotten the question before. And then we have this wave that I personally, like I mentioned in my community post, don't really have any kind of stake in it, because I see all this and none of it really speaks to me. I think an awful lot of people were in agreement that they don't care for that Brainiac because it looks a little too Super Friends-ish. But likewise, everybody, myself included, said that if there was one figure here that I can maybe see myself picking up in the future, I don't know about it being in the near future. I think it's a bit more on the distant side, but we'll see. Is going to be that Red Platinum Black Mask. And even then, this in-hand photo showed that maybe he could use some extra shading and paint decals on the vest because it looks too plain. Though there were some other photos that I saved here, one of which included apparently a bug, a literal physical insect bug being found inside of the Harley Quinn crowdfund figure. Yeah, because that happened. Nice manufacturing control there, McFarlane. Also, this video of this bear protecting his food from a lion, and then we get that stuff. But hold on, I could have sworn I saved. Yeah, I feel old. 20th anniversary of Dead Man's Chest. I could have sworn I saved a photo. That oh no, I think it was in the McFarlane subreddit. So let's go over to the McFarlane subreddit, which is definitely gonna spoil a little bit of what I'm about to get into here. But there was some photos already. Okay, yeah, kind of sort of related here. Some of these photos of other figures that also went live earlier this week, such as this um I want to call it the Femme Fatale wave, which is of the 80s Wonder Woman with the frizzled up hair, the Poison Ivy that people are finally getting, as well as the Hawk Girl collector's editions. They went up for pre-order this week, but at the same time, it's going into that very muddy sense of communication where pre-orders go live and yet people are already finding them in Walmart. And again, it's one of those things where we're sounding like a broken record. The reason for why this is because sometimes those shipping containers reach Walmart first because they have so much in that container. Because it's Walmart, they have to sell other things like clothes, food, electronics, home stuff. And sandwiched in there, without anybody seeing, is going to be some of this McFarlane stuff from China, where it's manufactured. And therefore, it's going to reach port stateside much quicker, which is why the pre-orders go live, but then these guys are already being found by some people across the states. Some people are reporting finding them in Virginia. Others are saying, like this one right here, Vegas. And in that same vein, bars, there was a post of people finding that wave of the Black Mask along with all those other Green Lantern characters. But okay, there you go. Somebody already found the Black Mask. And yeah, like I said, that vest is looking a little empty. I could have used a little bit of detailing. Face doesn't look too bad, but it also looks a little too cartoony that I was hoping it would stay villainous looking. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be the case. Now I can't find the photo. It was basically a photo at Walmart of like the entire wave. But anyways, we had those. Okay, look, somebody else. Yeah, now I can't find it. Oh well. Like I said, going back. Peturnia's feed here. Sorry, I'm a little distracted because once again my mom's walking back and forth in the hallway because that's what she does. Okay. Packrat, welcome to the stream. McFarlane is reissuing the 2025. Yeah, because I'm like, didn't we see that Beast Boy before? He just comes with less. That Poison Ivy looks like a dude. I don't think, well, they didn't strike me as that, but it is what it is. The real question is, will we ever get a big Barda figure, Kevbot? That would be, again, speaking of Hail Marys, that would be another big one to show off at Comic-Con. Oh man, with the DC lines coming to an end, the FOMO's hitting hard. Yeah, that's another thing too, is like how many of these entries do you genuinely do need versus what is turning into FOMO? And that's one of the things that I had to ask yesterday morning when McFarlane decided to jump ahead of these in-hand photos and just full on not only tease but also unleash the pre-orders for those page punchers. So we got the Alex Ross Superman and Batman, the Keaton 89 from the comic with the purple inside parts of his cape, which I'm telling you guys right now, it effectively is just the Keaton 89 Batman, but from, I could be wrong, but I want to say the head is the Returns, just not as one piece. Does that make sense? Like, it's the Returns head, but instead of it being the head and the neck conjoined, they actually separated the head. And it almost seems like he's got two joints that can do like a lot of this. And then the rest of the body is just 89 Batman again. Same thing with the cape, although the cape looks a little better quality. It doesn't look like just straight up nylon. It looks like it's actually double pleated. It's got a sense of weight to it. It looks like maybe the wire. It looks wired based on this right here. I think they're highlighting a little bit of the wiring. Let's go back to these better photos here. Yeah, it definitely looks like it's wired. And it better. Because, let me see if I could bring up an image here. What happens if I click on this? I'm scared because now they're doing this weird thing with like the links like this. Where's the official McFarlane Toy Store? Okay, perfect. Actually, yeah, this is perfect. The McFarlane Toy Store official page. That cape better be good considering it's all you fucking get inside the box. $27.99. And little by little, again, this is where things have to get really pick and choosy as far as where is it, when is it FOMO and when is it that you generally need a figure in your collection. And I told myself, let me give myself the middle ground here yesterday morning because I'm telling you guys right now, yes, I pre-ordered these. Did I pre-order through sites that immediately charge you? No. Because there's no harm there. At least to me. I pre-ordered, but not through sites that charge you right away. So I definitely didn't pre-order through McFarlane Toys. I didn't pre-order through Walmart, or I think Best Buy has a few of these that are going up. I think the Alex Ross stuff, or some of the gaming stuff. What's another site that charges you right away? And I didn't pre-order through GameStop, except for one. Yeah, so I instantly went to Amazon, obviously, which was a good... Basically, I did Amazon and BBTS, the two that for some weird reason always sell out. I can't tell if it's, design scarcity or scalping or resellers or, people that run their own mom and pop shops. And if anything, when people run mom and pop shops, they order the cases over at Entertainment Earth. But that's what I did. I was like, do the sites that don't charge you right away. You can just lock down your pre-order, think about it, and if you change your mind, delete it later, which I've been doing an awful lot this year versus other years. And who knows, this might be one of them because it is just the Keaton Batman, but with the better cape that also has purple on the inside, and you get the cool 89 comic. Do you get anything else? Literally no. There's nothing else. There's no bonus hands. You get the card, the base, and the fucking comic. That's it. And not much can also be said for these others that went live, including the Alex Ross Batman, which let's see if the page works because, yeah, that's the thing. Like, now they're, well, I think I can use this actually. Now, the Alex Ross is a little better because you do get the open hands, except if you know anything about these bodies, you know that these are effectively the same hands that the Superman comes from, just painted black to look like they're gloved. And I'll have to wait and see how this figure looks like in hand, because some of the images definitely evoke the feeling that it's Alex Ross. Like it's checkboxing, like, oh, look, it's got the massive head, it's got the big puffy chest. But then there's other angles where in a neutral position, and the bat symbol, as well as the big pouch with the middle buckle there. But then you look at the arms and you're like, the arms should be a little bigger, or the torso should be a little bigger, and I can tell that you're just using those other Superman bodies, right? It's the Superman bodies, except let's do Batman now. It worked for the Alex Ross Superman, The Kingdom Come, so let's just utilize that again. And I'm like, okay. So again, that was my compromise, is that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna pre-order, but through the sites that don't charge you. That way you can think about it and go from there. And it was effectively just Amazon and BBTS, and that was it. The only exception was the one that didn't have any other choice except GameStop, which is going to be the Billy D. Williams Two-Face, which I did manage to pre-order. But man, oh man, if I tell you that I was one of the luckiest sons of bitches, because I did not, even at 8:57, 8:58 in the morning where I'm half asleep, there was at least enough of a brain cell working for me to be like, don't wait for Paternia or Toy Shiz to put, or In Pursuit of Toys on their socials to post a link. Open up GameStop on your browser, on your phone, and just manually search for it. And sure enough, it was like number 3 down. It said Page Puncher 89 Batman Two-Face, and that was it. And it didn't have this picture. It had one of those stock graphics that say no image could be displayed at this time or something like that. It didn't. It had a generic placeholder image. It wasn't filled in like GameStop does. And I clicked it. It said pre-order, and I'm like, and it said pre-order available July 24th, in about 2 weeks. And I'm like, don't waste any time. Just pre-order this, and then we'll revisit it later. Maybe they'll update the image, but just in case, pre-order. Pre-ordered, went through. Within, I think, a minute of my email coming in from GameStop saying your order's been placed, Paternia and Toy Shiz linked to this Two-Face, and it sent me to the same page. And this time, not available. It was gone. Within like a couple of minutes of me securing my pre-order, it was gone. And I know that some people here in the comment section are pointing out that, technically, depending, your mileage may vary, but I think if you go into some physical stores, you can maybe give them the UPC code or whatever it is that they can pull it up on their system, and you can place down a pre-order with a $5 deposit. You can have your workaround that way, but as far as the public website is concerned, it's gone. And I'm like, holy shit. And that kind of makes sense considering the novelty of this being the Billy D. Williams Two-Face. And again, accessory-wise, it leaves a lot to be desired, but at least we're not dealing with the most egregious form of a repaint or anything like that. It's, a much fresher figure. There might be some reuse in the body as far as like the suits, because it is a suited character, so why wouldn't you reuse that? Pragmatically, it makes sense. But at least you got the pinstripe that's a little bit different. It's mainly black and white, but it's not just straight up black and white. You got the pinstripe on the white part, and then it's that head sculpt where I'm like, yeah, I kind of understand why I sold out, and I do not regret being able to lock down a pre-order myself. But is the body anything new? No. Like I said, this is probably just a few degrees from pretty much just being the Batman Forever body from other Two-Faces. There's a part of me that almost wants to do like a Two-Face-a-thon. And when this figure comes in and I review it real quickly, one brief segment of the video will be me putting it right next to virtually every other Two-Face that I own. The Tommy Lee Jones one, the Silver Age one. I think there's a Fidgetal one that I have. The Aaron Eckhart Dark Knight one. What's another Two-Face they've done? think that's about it. I'm actually kind of surprised by the low amount of Two-Faces we generally gotten. But yeah, as the site is showing right now, not available. 300 plus purchased recently. Holy shit. Yeah, so thank God I manually searched for this thing instead of just waiting, because I would have been at a loss. Granted, I know that there's always the possibility that a physical store would just carry it in store, and all I have to do is just look for it. I think there was a similar case like that happening when the 89 Joker was dropping, but it's all about leaving it to chance and how badly do you truly really want it. So yeah, and that was the bulk of the drops this week, but surprisingly, none of those drops had anything involved with the Black Mask wave that has the Sinestro, that has the Green Lantern. I think it had an Alan Scott Green Lantern in there, that had the Super Friends styled Brainiac. No pre-order center around that. Now, granted, Black Mask is meant to be a red platinum, so I don't know if it's going to be available for pre-order at GameStop later down the line, or if you could just, if the Todd father is simply just evoking this whole hunting mentality of, hey, pre-orders will not go live for a while. If you want it, go find it. Which part of me wants to respect that, and another part of me is like, dude, you know how much gas is right now? At least maybe like a hint that pre-orders would be available after Comic-Con. Maybe. Leonard Dugas, welcome to the stream. My GameStop did it in store yesterday. Awesome. Tony Kayat, I live in the Middle East and we can only get McFarlane's through AliExpress. Each figure costs around 40. Jesus. $10 shipping instead of... Yeah, so the whole thing I was mentioning about like FOMO and realizing what is FOMO versus what it is that you genuinely want, you need to comb through that with like the utmost scrutiny. 99% of the new releases with no accessories. Yeah, like it's heartbreaking just to see how little by little they're like, hey, do you want us to just shittify the figure or keep as much of the quality of the figure in tune as possible? And the major sacrifice comes in the form of accessories. And there's a part of me that kind of wants to understand that. Sorry, I'm trying to fix the webcam here. Not just that, but like at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but the figures, they retain quality, maybe. Like they're not going down in quality in certain avenues, specifically, like I said, the cape. But it started off at 23, but technically started at 20 back in 2020, 2021. Then it was 22, then it was 23, then it was 25, and now it's 27 for the basic DC Multiverse. And then page punches are 30, but it's just the comic, the card, and the base, and there's no extra hands. Or you'll get just one pair, like with the Alex Ross Batman and Superman. And even then, it's the most generic of hands. It's like, okay, we've seen these hands before. You tossed them in, cool, but I don't know, man. Because at this point, it's just starting to feel like we're just talking out of our ass, and haven't lost hope with the Mr. Miracle show coming out. Maybe. And going on that note about how we didn't get any sort of hint as to whether or not there's going to be a pre-order phase for that Black Mask Red Platinum, or if they're going to address all the other stuff that has been shown in hand. There was one other figure that was part of that Krauser Inc. Let me see if I can find that Krauser Inc. Instagram rollout that was similarly not really that addressed. Oh my god, by the way, I finally found the image. It was 4 days ago. There you go. This guy right here. Walmart. Found the Black Adam, found the Alan Scott, the Brainiac, and there's that Black Mask. And it's funny because around the time that I saw this image, I did go to Walmart myself, didn't find anything, but it was starting to get a little bit more stacked as far as like they had the pre-post statues end cap of the brand new day stuff. So the two smaller Hulks, the two bigger Hulks. I'm sorry, the 1/6 stuff and the 1/12 stuff, both each having its own Spider-Man and Hulk. They even had the 1/10 Punisher for the one last kill special, um, and some of the Marvel Rival stuff, but they didn't have anything like this. And where's the remainder of that Krauser ink? God damn it! Let's see if I could. Oh, nice. Okay, at least I have the Twitter post by Paternia. So while I was perusing through not only Paternia's repost of Krauser's Instagram rollout, amongst those photos, like I said, we had the other stuff like the question and the Beast Boy and this that didn't get formally addressed by McFarlane, and neither was anything to do with this Red Hood collector edition that I personally is the most egregious example of what we're dealing with here in 2026, because Skelly Bones, you were mentioning right there, like, $28, and for what? How about not just $28, but how about a whole ass collector's edition that's likely going to be $35, and effectively we're just taking the existing Red Hood figure that for all intents and purposes should have just been part of the Vault collection, because a lot of people really want a Red Hood again, and you pack them in with the guns, so you finally get the ability to. By the way, I don't know how you managed to get the guns in there and still get a 12 plus rating. That should have been 17. That's curious. I don't know if this is even going to be final, but you do get the guns, and they also toss for good measure, toss in the existing crowbar from before. I wish that the crowbar and the gun, but I think the way to kind of skirt things around that 12 plus rating is the fact that it's all bedazzled in chrome. Why couldn't we have the guns and the crowbar have like the nice little airbrushing that we've seen McFarlane be able to do on these accessories before? I would imagine that that's probably one of the things that they had to do to get the 12 rating. Otherwise it would have been 17, because then it'll look a little too realistic. But then a lot of people in the comments, I don't know about this post, but I think it was either on Reddit or even on Facebook, of people really excited for this because of the Jason Todd head sculpt tossed in there. And unfortunately, I really wish that I can rework my brain in a way to be able to be excited over the prospect of them finally tossing that in, because instead my brain goes to, okay, I already have this figure. I think I have it twice, the original and the black and white GameStop exclusive that they did a little while back. This is effectively that figure, only this time it's being sold as a collector edition, which means it's going to be $35. I already have a munitions pack. The original version that I had already has the crowbar. I would effectively be buying it for a Jason Todd head, so the Jason Todd head is costing me $35. I personally feel like there should be one or two more accessories tossed in here for a collector's edition. Because I'm looking at this box, I'm seeing just so much empty negative space, and I don't think that just one Jason Todd head is enough, honestly. And I think that, if anything, the direction I think they should have, gone in with this should have been putting more in the box, but rather take away the crowbar and the Jason Todd head and sell it as a Vault release at just 25 flat. Make it cheaper and more accessible as a Vault release, because this is a figure that's been, tucked away for a while. Why is this not a Vault release instead of a gold label collector edition? I'm sorry, but why is it? Again, it's just becoming, like I said, a broken record at this point. It's just nothing but air saying, why are we paying more for less? It's the whole McDonald's example with the Big Mac. Big Mac getting smaller and shittier, and yet it's costing what? People are saying now it's like $15, $16 for a McDonald's meal. Like, we're just regurgitating the same thing over and over. No pun intended there regarding the McDonald's analogy. I don't get it at this point, and that's why I'm very pick and choosy with what I'm putting down for pre-order and the manner or the method that I'm putting down the pre-order. And I definitely do not regret that the pre-orders that I set this week regarding those Batmans, because obviously this is a Batman-centric channel. But also I did put down pre-orders through the means of not getting charged right away, and so we just letting it be like a placeholder, and still actively in the thinking stage of whether or not I'm even gonna keep those pre-orders. Having the time to think about it, because I'm like, I'm not gonna give you guys my money right now. I don't feel moved in that direction. CM Bronk, what the hell are you doing? Thank you for the $5 super chat. So are we collecting Mattel DC collector line or stopping the McFarlane collector line? Oh, what do you mean by that question? Because based on my impression with that the basic Premier line, which is meant to be the core kids line, I'm thoroughly impressed that I'm still holding out hope that that first wave of the collector's line from Mattel is going to be awesome. Again, setting the precedent by that by the Wrestling Ultimates series, I would say that that's a good sign. I get good vibes from that series, and obviously no way to prove this. There's been no concrete rumors or solid word of mouth or smoke of this, but there's some people speculating, very harshly speculating, and it's nothing but just speculation, that it will be during Comic-Con this year that we'll get at least some renders, not even prototypes necessarily, but just like some renders or some talk about the collector's line that will be premiering in January 2027 from Mattel. And let's see if maybe there's a bit of a ways to kind of check up on that via this post by Paternia on his Twitter. Paternia went through the work, so shout out to Paternia, one of my favorite social media accounts on Twitter, on Instagram, even on Facebook a little bit, to utilize to keep track of an awful lot of these things. So hopefully he doesn't mind a little bit of a freebooting here, but he put together a list of pretty much all of the main toy-centric stuff that's going to be talked about during Comic-Con week. So important days to remember, of course, preview night versus the exact days of San Diego Comic-Con. Starting off with Thursday, here's the schedule. What is this? Oh, this is like the exclusives. Okay. Because I'm trying to figure out what's going to be an actual panel where things are going to be talked about versus just doing this whole exclusive thing. Because as the days went on, we had some things being shown off and then others not really. So take Thursday, for example. It starts off with these CollectorCon Day 1, Mattel exclusives online sale. But then again, when I see online sale, I'm like, all right, this is not an actual panel. This is just Comic-Con exclusives finally being available for purchase, at the beginning of that week. Some of them. One of which is this is the gym towel. This is the gym towel of the Jim Bro Skeletor, but I believe there's an actual Mattel figure being made of Jim Bro Skeletor. And I've seen the images, and it's novel, it's goofy, but it's charming. And I don't blame anybody whatsoever for wanting that figure. And I believe that is an SDCC exclusive. So shout out to those that are going to be getting that figure. But yeah, that's just the exclusives going on sale at 9 a.m. Thursday the 23rd. So as we go down this list, I'm kind of going through what is actually being constituted as like a panel reveal. It doesn't really look like, in regards to Mattel's DC, that there's anything concrete right now for Thursday. Because I'm looking through and I'm looking out for the word Mattel, and the only thing I see is their WWE reveals on Thursday at 11:15. Apart from that, I don't see anything else. Hasbro's got the G.I. Joe panel, 10 a.m. Why so early? Yeah. On Thursday. And then in terms of words that genuinely stand out to me, maybe Jada Toys. If they're doing like actual more physical toys as opposed to vehicles, maybe they have something to talk about at 3. Mondo Toy Talk. But again, Mondo, I'm not really been feeling Mondo all that well these past couple of years regarding their figures, because all of their 1/6 scale stuff, it's mainly for like the diehards. Apart from that, I'm like, don't have that kind of money right now, so it doesn't really move me in any kind of direction because it doesn't look like they're doing anything terribly innovative. And then we move on to Friday, which is so far the only available day in terms of panels, unless, and to be honest, most of the Saturday stuff regarding action figures doesn't really happen. Saturday is predominantly taken up by the much more multimedia stuff. Movies, specifically Hall H with Marvel, DC, and then TV shows, and even some video game stuff. Some of which the video game stuff involves Sony having panels. Am I peaking a lot? Hello? Is the audio okay? Because I just saw a whole lot of red in my. All right. Hello? Okay. Yeah, go. Anyways, Sony had the audacity to reveal recently that they're going to have panels for Wolverine, God of War Laufey, and Marvel Tokon at San Diego Comic Con. Surely that will go well. I would pay so much money. I would send like donations if there was a way that at the end of each panel they have like a Q&A session and literally everyone lines up, but every question is the exact same question. And the question is, of course, are you guys bringing back the discs? So about that physical media. So, regarding these Blu-ray discs, and eventually the panelists just get tired and be like, all right, and they do that thing in the movies where they're like, if you don't have a question that doesn't have anything to do with the physical media thing, then I would kindly ask you guys to leave so that others can ask the question. And then, like in those movies, the majority of the audience in the inside of that panel room just goes and just funnels out and just exits the room like a "Oh Captain, my Captain" type of moment. That'd be hilarious. It's not gonna happen, but that would be hilarious. So far, we only got a form of an itinerary for Friday. Inside of this Friday panel, though, guess who does show up? Marvel Legends panel in room 5AB at 11:30 a.m. And then from 1 to 2, McFarlane Toys. Unreleased, unannounced, unleashed. So, when did McFarlane say that that's home? When did McFarlane, hold on, let me go over to McFarlane's Twitter page. When did they say that they were doing that Collecticon thing with Brian? I thought you were a gym rat. I like going to the gym. I'm not a gym rat, though. No. You know how much of a gym rat I'm not? Tuesday, I went to the gym. And I made the fatal mistake of going to the gym on the Tuesday after both 4th of July and one of the more prolific games out of the FIFA World Cup. So when I went to the game, on Tuesday, I just stood there near the entrance for about 5 minutes before I just walked right out. Because I physically could not see any space to freely walk through in between the machines. That's just how bad it was. And I knew as I'm walking away that I can tell from appearances that half of the room is people trying to lose the hot dogs and the hamburgers they gorged on Saturday. And then the other half were people that were trying to lose as much of that beer weight, I should say cerveza and tacos weight, after they had to, try to suppress their sorrows after Mexico lost. It was half, 4th of July people trying to lose all that barbecue weight, and then the other half trying to work out their sorrows by either losing the beer weight or releasing as much stress after Mexico lost. Thankfully, yesterday and Wednesday, much better. It wasn't perfect, but much better, and I was able to get some workout sessions in. But yeah, If I was a true gym rat, I would have stuck with it. But no, Tuesday I walked in, saw how crazy it was, and I was like, nope. I noped right out of there. Some people have been saying after McFarlane they're stopping. I understand that, and that's totally legit. Like the way hobbies are right now, and not just with action figures, but I even kind of hinted at there. Yeah, I kind of touched on it a little bit with gaming, with movies, where hobbies are like, yeah, I'm being priced out. I'm being priced out. Like I can't. I have to just stick with what I got right now, and I'm done. And when they see this really cool jumping off point, as opposed to the jumping on, the way I saw the Fraction Jimenez Batman as a good jumping on point to start reading comics, the complete opposite of that scenario, people are seeing McFarlane losing the license as a good jumping off point to be like, all right, I'm done, I'm out. You know, every figure is gonna start costing like $30. The quality is not going to be there like it was back in the Toy Biz days of the 90s. Everything, and, you know, cost of groceries, cost of gas, it's like, no. It makes sense. Like, I don't blame anybody whatsoever. So, CM Bronco, are you asking me? I guess it really it's tough to answer right now, because if I wasn't a content creator, I probably would say, yeah, I would stop with McFarlane. I would probably admire the Mattel stuff from afar until maybe I walk into like a Target or a Walmart and I see it in my hands and I'm like, you know what? This is a lot better than I expected. Let me walk out with it. And I have the money at the time. But yeah, you know, if you were to ask me right now, gun to my head, I would say if I wasn't a content creator, yeah, the answer would just be straight up yes. With McFarlane, I'll be out. But being a content creator, I would say that the intent would be to be like, no, I want to check out at least that first wave of the Mattel stuff, show it off on camera, and compare and create content that is on everybody's minds, on everybody's palates. You got to go to 24 Hours Gym, not Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness kind of ghetto. Well, of course it is, Brian. It's $10 a month, but that's all I can afford right now. No, Brian. If money was not an object, there's a place here in by where I live called InShape that has an indoor pool. If they got money for an indoor pool, they got money to charge high. And I know that this is gonna sound super classist, but that higher monthly rate means that the people who are there are genuinely there with the demeanor to actually, you know, work out and respect the people around them that are going to work out. And it also means that I'm not going to walk into the bathroom and some guy is shaving his armpits and brushing his teeth. Yeah. No, I'm completely. I totally get what you're talking about, Brian. No, the only reason why I go to Planet Fitness is because I'm fucking broke right now. That's it. If I knew per month that I was pulling in that kind of money, I'll be like, nah, fuck you guys, I'm out. The unmasked Jason Todd came with a sword and a crowbar. Really? A sword? I don't even remember that. Leonard Dugas. Sorry, I didn't answer your question here. Did you get the Harley Quinn crowdfund set? She's pretty. The black mask is starting to hit on eBay. First scalp is about 50. Jesus. Don't scalp for that black mask. It doesn't even look $52 worth. But to answer your question about the Harley Quinn, no. I didn't. I liked Margot Robbie in the role, but I didn't like her that much to be like, yo, I'm gonna fund this. Even the tier 1 where it's just the figure. So you can forget about the other tiers. I wasn't moved enough to get it. The images in hand though don't look all that bad, but they also don't look impressive enough that I'm like kicking myself. Oh, I should have funded it. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Happy for the people that got it. So I keep getting distracted, but going back to that panel, I talked about Marvel Legends and then the McFarlane toys at 1 to 2. So, oh god damn it, I forgot what I was gonna do. Wait, just to check McFarlane's feed here. Go back to that video where he talks about the Walter 9 a.m. Oh wow, so he's pulling a very lengthy day. So that same day at 9 a.m., he's gonna talk about some of the Walmart stuff, and then later on in the afternoon, he's gonna be in front of a panel, in front of a group of people inside of room 6A to talk about McFarlane Toys unreleased, and that's probably the big one. It's this one right here, guys. Friday the 24th from 1 to 2, where there's probably going to be some, at least some render reveals of that possible Absolute Batman, of that possible Fraction Jimenez 2025 comic Batman, and anything else in between that we could hopefully desire. And this is a pretty important one, considering that this is probably it, guys. This is probably going to be the last style of panel of this magnitude before the license is out. Think about it. Because this is Comic-Con. This is the big one. Sure, there's more conventions in throughout the remainder of the year. LA Comic-Con is in, I think, I think this year LA Comic-Con is like at the end of October, actually. Like that last Halloween weekend. Was strange. Strange, but huge incentive for cosplay. But it's really San Diego Comic-Con. That's the peak. That's the magnum opus. That's the Super Bowl of conventions. McFarlane is showing up, so that means he's got to show up. Because whatever they show at this panel, whether it's simply just a render or a full product reveal, a prototype even, this is going to really pull in their last wave of revenue and hype as far as customer loyalty for at least those last 3 to 4 months, because we're talking about the end of July, right? So, if we're talking from a fiscal perspective, you would say that August is practically there. So realistically, those figures need to come out in what? September, October, November? And then that's it. But I think from what I remember in years past, McFarlane doesn't release anything in December, let alone reveal, because by that point, the focus is to sell the figures. It's Christmas time. You got to sell the figures. You're not going to reveal anything. You're not going to talk about anything. And since this is the last year, December almost doesn't really count. It's really November. So once July is up, August, September, October. And then November is really when you get as much of that product out there as possible. So whatever they got to show at this Comic-Con panel, it's got to hit. I know it's an awful lot of pressure, but it's got to hit. And so far, that's the only real schedule that we have. And, as mentioned, nothing from Mattel regarding that DC line. Now, could they add something for Saturday? I'll definitely keep you guys, I don't know if I'll be able to keep you guys posted. But I'm definitely going to keep checking in on this schedule to see if they add anything for Saturday, possibly this time tomorrow or Sunday. They upload something and then boom, there's something. Also, my Mattel 112 K-pop Demon Hunters came in. I love them. Already? Didn't they just go for pre-order like this morning or yesterday? I'm stopping after McFarlane DC figures, but I won't stop watching the reviews of Mattel stuff. The female figures will make the call. Yeah, there's a part of me that almost kind of wants to skew in that direction. And again, it also really depends on where this channel is going to be in that time. So yeah, so far no Mattel DC panels scheduled. Mattel's only panels on Thursday for their WWE stuff, but if that changes, I'll definitely try to stay privy to it and let you guys know. So now, let's talk about the breaking news. And to do that, I need to head over to Reddit. Some of you already got a taste of it if you guys watch Kaiju Daddy, who streamed at like buttfuck 6 in the morning this morning. But I get it. Chinese time for him, it was like the afternoon. So no sweat off his brow. But I knew that I needed to really rake some of this in. So let me see what would probably be the most ideal carousel pulled from Reddit. I would argue that it's probably going to be this one to start off, even though there are some newer numbers. But there is an event in China right now I can't remember what it's called. It started with a G, Gungzhou something. Let me see if I could find a separate post in the Reddit, the LPZZ subreddit. Please tell me that somebody mentioned the event over in China. And I don't think anyone is going to say it, unfortunately. That is. If you guys can look it up for me real quick while I also try to garner as many of these photos as possible, because it started with a G. Gongzhou, Zhao, something like that. I legitimately cannot remember what it was called. But anyways, at this event that was going to take place this weekend, which I didn't know about, but I just didn't know what the influx of images and coverage was going to come out of the place. But it looks like it was, in fact, a major dump. And I mean that respectfully. Not a dump like, oh, this place is trash. No, I mean a dump of actual flow down, laxative style of information, mainly derived out of these pics. And let's start off with the one that I think to me is making the biggest impression on me. It's going to be the Snyderverse bat flick from BVS. This thing's looking kind of beautiful. I gotta be honest, this thing, it's legit looking like a shrunken down Hot Toys of bat flick, which is no easy feat. I know that that's a big thing to say, but just looking at that head sculpt, I'm like, yeah, I think LPZZ's got it. I think UPF and LPZZ might have it. Might have the sauce. Kevbot, what the hell are you doing? Thank you for the $10 super chat. LPZZ Absolute Batman line can come soon enough. Have a good weekend, brother. All right, Kevbot, if you're tuning out, have a good weekend. Much love. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for the $10. Yeah, I mean, look at this thing. The only thing that looks like it was a little unchanged from that initial work print prototype from a few years back, prior to the delays that we did cover a little while ago regarding the departure of the lead designer and how that turned into a little bit of a shakeup. It looks like they didn't. Man, it looks like they didn't let any of those shakeups over at the company deter from the final product, because so far we got this updated look at the Batfleck. There's a part of me that kind of wishes that he would have been donning the actual cowl sculpt, but at the same time, if you really want to sell and get people to stop when they're kind of going through this display, I guess you would want to see how the Batfleck sculpt is going to look like on the body. And furthermore, gives them an ample excuse to hold the empty cowl hand right there, which something tells me that looks pre-sculpted, which means it's going to be like the hand is sculpted with the mask, considering that the mask has that pulled sort of effect that looks beautifully sculpted. Yeah, I'm really digging this. Can I zoom in? Don't think I can zoom in. Nope. I don't. It's Reddit is doing that thing again where I can't zoom in. Then over here, we do have a very early and admittedly kind of rough prototype of the Absolute Catwoman, which I think maybe with some paint decals will work a little bit better. But right now, I got to be honest, the initial prototype is not doing too much for me, though getting incredibly charmed by the automatopoeia effect over here with the gun saying top 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 top. So that's charming. I do like that. Tangxia di Modao is the event. And then Guangzhou Model Expo. Skelly Bones, Guangzhou Model Expo, or Guangzhou. I think it's pronounced Zhao. Guangzhou Model Expo. That's the name that I saw very frequently, so I'm just going to go with that one. So that's what they're showing here. That's the event that they're showing the stuff at. This is another one that stopped me. Not only because we already knew that they were doing their own Arkham Knight Joker, but guys, it's fully painted and articulated. It's painted and articulated, so it kind of begs the question, how far off are we from seeing this guy in hand? Considering how fast the turnaround was for Arkham Knight, and even while they're still releasing batches of the Arkham Knight, pre-orders already went live for the Catwoman. So I'm like, you know, it's I'm definitely getting a vibe. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but I'm getting a vibe that they kind of relayed this message of like all hands on deck for the Arkham Knight series. And instead of separating all of our thoughts and all of our processes and all of our workflow in different directions, just do Arkham Knight right now, finish that line, and then we're moving on to Hush. And then probably after that, they would have moved into New 52, but unfortunately that got canceled. So the fact that this is painted, it's in terms of like the paint apps, beautiful. Sculpt is 80% there. And let me tell you why I say 80%. Because on the subjective side, it is a little unfortunate that it's the Arkham Knight Joker, which means that his face does have, this picture does confirm that the face has that much, I don't want to say realistic, but that much more softer look and less villainous. I don't know what it is, but something, if you look closely, something is different about Joker's face in Arkham Knight versus his appearances in either Asylum or City. And I'm not the biggest fan of it. Between all those looks, my preferred look is how he looked in either Asylum or City. The only difference between those two is that he looks sick in City. But in terms of like his bone structure and his actual aesthetic, it's pretty much one-to-one, the same. Whereas in Arkham Knight, you look at his face and there's something just a little softer and more like, woe is me kind of look. And the face sculpt is the same, and it's evoking that. That's not a harp on UPF, it's just the design because it's supposed to be the Arkham Knight version, so they had to go with that. Now, what will be some criticism on UPF from a technical objective point of view is some of the parting for the articulation. CM Brock, you mentioned they have to fix the knees. I personally don't really have a problem with the knees. I have a problem with the torso, though. Something about the segmentation of the torso here and then this wide span of a chest plate does look a little off. He looks, if anything, he looks like he's a little too buff to be Joker. The limbs don't look too bad, but even the limbs I feel could be a couple of degrees, like fractions of millimeters stripped down on, and if anything, this is probably something that I should say in the Instagram chat. So if JM Herrera, if you watch the VOD for this, I might have to relay this information, or maybe I'll just jump after the live stream here into the Instagram feed. If I was to provide some feedback, I would say that the body proportions for Joker do need some work. Now, properly looking at them, the joints, like I said, don't really bug me as much as in regards to like the knees or even the elbows, except for the chest. Whatever he's got going on right here in the middle, where the vest meets, that looks weird. It looks like maybe it's separating on the coat here on the right. Can you guys see my cursor? God, like I said, I wish I could punch in and zoom in. But yeah, there's something weird here with this slice here. I kind of wish that we can kind of overhaul this. But if they can't overhaul the tooling of how this is assembled, then the only thing I ask is that per the pieces, we slim him down a little bit because he's a little bit too jacked to be Joker. And then this is, I believe, the Batman Beyond suit from Arkham Knight. So it's doing that. They did that weird thing where it's it's supposed to be like a Batman Beyond influenced suit, but it doesn't actually look like Batman Beyond Batman. It still has the tactical stuff. He's got like a covered up mask. So it's almost like they took the Arkhamverse and said, what would it look like if this Batman made his Batman Beyond suit, but still within this universe? And that's pretty much the skin that you have in the game, and they're making a figure out of it. And this figure, he's a little bit cramped up to be in this dynamic pose, so he doesn't have like a neutral pose to him. I kind of wish that maybe this, the flight pose, would have been in a neutral state, and then we can have this one be the action superhero landing one. That way we can have a look at both looks. But from what I can tell, they might have given him some better proportions than that initial prototype from a little while back. So he's looking a little better. And then we have this white shot that I did see a little bit before. Why did this get circled, I wonder? But in this white shot, there's the Red Death, the Batman Who Laughs, we've gotten before. What is this? In between Batman Who Laughs and Red Death. What is that? Yeah, see, I can't. I'm either gonna have to go on Instagram or maybe Twitter to see if I could zoom in. There's that Joker again, and then a big one for some people, the Dawnbreaker. As Brian pointed out here, the Dawnbreaker looks phenomenal. Those green tendrils shooting ground floored me. And that's it for this specific carousel. In the meantime, actually, let me go see if I could check out Spicy Side Ducks and see if I could use his post to zoom in on some of this stuff. Hold on. We see some goodness here. Yeah, it's gotta be, it's Chrome, right? That does that? Like, everything gets zoomed in except the image. Fuck it. If you guys can give me like a little shortcut of how I would be able to zoom in, I would really appreciate it. Okay, so I'm gonna hop back and forth here. And then we have this one. There's a Catwoman I already talked about, but there's that absolute Batman. The calm before the storm. That is going to be every company doing their absolute Batman. And WB knows it because recently they announced that they're going to try to make an animated show on Absolute Batman. Curious to see how that's going to work out. And on that note, in about 3 weeks, we have the release of Season 2 of Cape Crusader. I'm going to be checking that out, which I believe is also going to have their own screening at Comic-Con, like last year. Was it last year or the year before? I think it was the year before. No, yeah, it was the year before because 2024 is when me and my girlfriend actually managed to get into Comic-Con. She had her fall, which made her kind of sick for the rest of the day. She had like a heat exhaustion episode. That was in 2024, I remember that. And then last year, we only had the McFarlane and the Inert event, but we didn't actually go inside Comic-Con. Yeah. All right, so that was 24. So Season 1 of Cape Crusader came out in 2024. 2 years to bring us Season 2. Hopefully they did they're doing the Invincible thing where we wait a while, but then out of nowhere they're like, hey, Season 3 drops in a few months. It's like, oh, shit. Hopefully, but having my doubts. We'll see. Because they've been kind of hush-hush. Like, the way that they've been rolling out promotion for Season 2 of Cape Crusader, I'm like, they're barely talking about it. But they are going to have a panel at San Diego Comic-Con, so hopefully they got good things to say. And then on the 31st, the premiere. And hopefully I'll check it out, bring you guys a review just like I did with Season 1. And on that note, I need to catch up on Spider Noir. I've seen the first 3 episodes, but I haven't seen the rest, so too late for that review, but oh well. Anyways, Absolute Batman. Absolutely yoked. We do have 2 looks here, so that's pretty interesting. I guess you would argue that the look on the right is the more definitive version versus the one on the left that's going to come with that buzzsaw. And the mask, very similar to that render that we saw from McFarlane, which I think, if anything, kind of confirms that what you see before you hear, a lot of toy companies are going to do. I'm starting to get the vibe that either DC or WB said, hey, these are the 2 looks you got, make figures. And that's it. Because I do think it's pretty curious that these are the 2 that McFarlane might make. Those McFarlane Absolute Trinity renders got out, but the one for Batman is the very specific one with the mask and the buzzsaw. And that's also what we got here from UPF. So I'm like, I think this is a less McFarlane, less UPF thing and more of a WBDC thing. That they're saying, you gotta make this look. I don't know why it's so important about this look, but I guess. Thankfully, if that means that we get our default definitive edition over here with the axe and the proper bat symbol and the scaling, combined with this rather dope base right here with the Absolute Batman logo there on the front, fine. At least we got the choice. The choice feels a little bit more paywalled with McFarlane because this version's going to get the standard edition, but this is going to get locked behind Elite Edition, so the scumminess starts to come in there, but unless we're a fly in the wall in those discussions during the meetings, it could have been McFarlane or it could have been DC. Same way that DC said that Joaquin Phoenix Joker set needed to be 250. When that was 250, I definitely, I know everybody was quick to point the finger at McFarlane. The only perspective that I pointed the finger at McFarlane is saying that they still did take the deal. Did they dictate the price? No, that was definitely WB. That was definitely DC. Could they have said also, no, we're not making that and just keep our optics as clean as possible? Yeah, they also could have done that. They could have done that. So it was a bit of a 50-50 thing. Okay, that's it for this one. But since we're talking about Absolute Batman, we got some more photos coming out of somebody over at RedNote. I believe this is a RedNote user over in China. This angle right here looks a little cleaner, a little bit more punched in. So I'm liking the cape, the tendrils there. And we do have a little bit of cutting for the articulation. I also find interesting that it looks like the spikes might be modular, since this image shows all the spikes on the shoulder, but then when we cut back to this one, it's only on one. And it just dawned on me, this actually, if these are modular, then I think this head is too with the mask, which means that this is the same figure. Because now I'm looking at the cape and I'm like, wait a minute. Is this the same? Have I been talking out of my ass this entire time? Is this the same figure? And this is just to demonstrate all the other accessories it's going to come with? Instead of paywalling like McFarlane has to? If this is the same figure, and from this angle you can see that the base is probably going to have that same accessory storing mechanic, because it looks like it separates right there and it's got that little like piece from the back right there where the arm is going to plug into. But if this is both the same figure and they're just dressing it up with a different head and the buzzsaw, and then this one comes with the modular spikes, this one has the lesser spikes, yeah. The only little concern I have, and it's not even that big of a concern because it comes with a territory, is that if this guy's massive and has just as much modulability, if that's even a phrase, as it's being demonstrated here, based on this prototype, don't be that surprised if we do kiss the little butt surface that is the triple-digit price. I think this might be the first $100 or $100 plus UPF figure. And when I say $100, I mean MSRP, prior to the shipping, prior to the tariffs, whatever fees gets lumped in depending on who you purchase it from. I'm talking about base MSRP. I think this might be the first base MSRP $100 UPF figure. Excuse me. Hold on. We gotta take a break here and take a swig. Amazing Raccoon, welcome to the stream. And then we also have an unmasked Catwoman that I do think is much more impressive looking than that other one. Although I don't know how I feel about the separation of the... It's giving that SH Figure Art Psylocke vibes right here. We'll see. Early prototype. It is articulated, but I have to read more into Absolute Batman to see exactly how she looks like in the comics, apart from the cover that was being hyped up a few months ago. Enough. Another big one. One that, word on the street, is becoming, it could be just around the corner. Pattinson Batman. Because this one, not only is it fully painted, but also looks articulated, very similar to that what was it, the Arkham Knight Joker. And this one did get a little bit of a tease reveal alongside Catwoman. Now, Catwoman ended up being, and when I say tease reveal, I'm talking about official tease reveals directly from the company UPF, LPZZ proper, from their Instagram accounts. So not some placeholder page on Bombasby or anything like that. Because I think everybody's finally waking up to the fact that when Bombasby or 5K Toys or Wanted Toys put up those pages where you could already put down a $5 pre-order, but UPF and LPZZ directly through Instagram or RentNote or whatever don't say anything, don't pre-order. Until there's an official pre-order launch by UPF. Don't pre-order, because things could go sideways, and then we end up with a bunch of Arkham Knight cancellations through Bombasby, because they overpromised, or overbooked, over pre-ordered. So, we do have a bit of a formal official tease from UPF for this guy alongside Catwoman, but Catwoman was the only one that went out for pre-order. Could he be following suit? So overall, I think I like the suit. I do. It might be a little light on the shade for the graininess of the middle torso and limbs, but apart from that, face sculpt looks nice. Cape looks nice. I'm digging this rafter looking base from the climax. I do need some better looks. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Now, face sculpt is not bad, but it's also not the greatest, if I'm being honest. The chin, it's almost, you know what? That's what it is. Bottom half of the face is perfect. Eyes and above need a little bit of work, UPF. So if I could add just another note of feedback before we hit mass production, I think we need to work a little bit on the brow and the eyes. And maybe the mouth, because this is looking a little too like this, a little too gruff, a little too mongoloid, because I think it's because his lips look a little puffier, and I'm sorry, but Robert Pattinson fits the bill as far as your stereotypical Englishman of having no lip. He's got the chin, very angled chin, but yeah, I think it's almost there, but it does need a little bit of work, if I'm being honest. Brian, you haven't been listening? I way ahead of you. I'm already part of that feed. There's some of these things that I'm saying right here. I'm trying to decide if I should just text them out, write them out and send them over to them, or if I should splice this out like I typically do as its own segment and send that over to them. I don't know. I haven't decided. And then we have, I guess before we move on to the Hush stuff, I guess technically a couple more Arkham related material, but this time not Arkham Knight. Instead, it is, actually no, false flag. We do have one more Arkham Knight look. One that I heard was actually put on ice, but it looks like momentum has picked up and they're moving the project forward again. Yeah, still look, some people in the comment section are saying, hey, I thought they canceled this. No, I remember Killzone on Kaiju Daddy's stream said that this was put on hold, but it wasn't formally canceled. It looks like they're ramping it up again in terms of the project. Arkham Knight Red Hood. So basically how he looked like in the DLC. A little difficult to go by because it looks like it's very early prototypes. Again, it looks like they literally just defrosted it and put it up on this display, but doesn't inherently look bad. I like some of the texture work happening on the jacket that looks kind of lived in, but again, the photo I kind of wish was a little bit more closed up and less pixelated, otherwise it will look a little better. From what I can tell, I don't think that there's actually any Red Hood photos on Instagram, and if there, on Reddit, and if there are, I think they're going to be the same ones that, yeah, it's the same one. Nothing different. That's the things that, and I got to be honest, last night I was witnessing all this getting uploaded in real time, and there was a part of me that's like, should I join them and upload them on my community tab or on my Twitter? And I'm like, everyone's going to be doing this, and good thing I didn't, because like I said, after a while I'm like, all right, yeah, it's the same thing. And then throwing it back a little further to Arkham City. Arkham City Batman, which is blatantly Arkham City, judging by these gauntlets right here. Kind of wish, again, he was in neutral pose and not just the superhero landing pose. But unfortunately, that's all we can really work with right now. So good to see. And this is that prototype they showed at, I think it was Wonderfest, when they were going up against InArt and they were revealing just as much as they were. I think it was like a static, unarticulated, but painted prototype. And this time they did the opposite. It's unpainted, but it is articulated and posed in a dynamic way. And also in this picture, the Nightwing, which is actually the Arkham Knight Nightwing, not City. But this is the one that I believe old Bruce, the designer that left UPF, was working on it before his departure. But it looks like it's a project that they're still maintaining in the docket, so that's good to see. And as far as the gaming stuff, I think that really about does it. Before we move on to the Hush stuff, tactical suit Batman. So not only are we getting that Batfleck, you can actually see a little bit more of the cowl sculpt here on the side. But then staying within the Snyderverse, tactical suit Batman. Now, somebody pointed out, ooh, so that explains it. Okay. According to Spicy Psyduck, he may be talking to some people on the ground floor over there during the event. But somebody pointed out here that this is what the tactical suit looked like in 2024. The suit looks pretty good, but the head sculpt, it does look like it needs some work. And then Spicy Psyduck responded by saying pretty much everything from the 2024 showcase were scrapped and redone. A little early to tell because, again, this is one of those maquette style prototypes to just kind of pitch it. Yeah, a little early to tell. I understand that the vibes are trying to go for the tactical suit, but I can't really tell from this because it looks like there's some areas that are very, very overly smooth for it to be the tactical suit, but it makes sense because it's a very early prototype. And then, as mentioned in that wide shot, there was that showing of the Dawnbreaker. However, to kind of exemplify that prior photo of Tactical Suit Batman, does look like an awful lot of the figure was overhauled. You can see right here that it's pretty different. And I hate to say it, but I think the 2024 one looked a little better. Hopefully the paintwork will carry a little bit more, but yeah, I like the intricacies of this mesh material. The little linings here. The middle torso here looks much more in depth. Granted, I think the symbol on his chest looks a little better on the newer one. And I like the head being a little bit more narrower because it looks like Dawnbreaker as opposed to the much more girthy version of the new one. But we'll see. But so far, I gotta be honest, I actually like the original. Yeah, look, somebody else is saying it. I'm liking the prototype on the right better. But, you know, the new one is more accurate, plus the older one is probably more expensive to make given the extra details. Yeah. It's one of those, it is what it is situations where a lot has happened in the past 2 years. Like I said, some lead developers and lead designers leaving and cost of making figures going up. Yeah. But at least, like I said, there's sections here that leave things looking pretty impressive. And amongst them is also some of the Hush stuff, which finally gives us a colored Hush Batman, which kind of begs the question if this is yet another release that is just around the corner, because he's looking pretty complete. I believe he was also in a carousel over here, or am I wrong? Let me actually refresh the page. Oh, I think he was, but I kind of skipped through it. And again, it's the same photos. Is it better resolution? Nope. just as blurry. And that's the thing. It's like it kind of makes sense that some of these photos. It's probably gonna be at the end of the weekend, so there's probably would have been some benefits to waiting. But it's probably going to be the end of either tomorrow or Sunday when we get some really high quality photos. Because keep in mind, this is still China. They have Red Note, Bilibili, but that means that it's going to go through a secondary process to get some of these photos on over here through Reddit, Instagram, or even YouTube. Which also means that um, there's going to be dilution of quality because it's got to get compressed, put through another ringer of processing by being sent over through Google Drive, etc. It's not coming from any kind of direct source because we have to work with these apps that they have over there. There are better photos out. Are they on Reddit? Because like I said, I just refreshed Reddit. Let me refresh Spicy Side Duck's post. Because like I said, this is it. Now, so far, I like that we're kind of getting some better coverage of what was shown during the Kaiju Daddy Killzone stream. Because we got the two bases right here. The cape, which looks very quality, but at the same time, I'm a little nervous. It might be overly long, which I get it. It's the Jim Lee inspired look, but at the same time, I'm like, how many times are we going to do this look? Hopefully, there's something within the quality of the plastic. Because like I said, it looks good. Is there anything here that makes me go, yo, this is going to be better than the Mafex? Maybe the shading of the musculature for the body? But apart from that, I think it's one of those things that we're just going to have to wait and see until it's in hand. From this photo alone, the only thing that I can look at and go, that looks neat, is the shading for the musculature on the gray. And the bases. And then maybe this, like, the Hush accessory with the half-covered face. It looks like it's going for a very realistic approach to the bandages. But apart from that, can't really see much else. Again, unless I can get some linkage over to some better photos. Because right now, cannot find anything else. Unless it's on Facebook. I saw a crispy version of Hush a minute ago, but I refreshed my Insta page and it disappeared. Is it Instagram? Let me see if I could find something real quick on my Instagram. Oh, there goes Bones. Bones, no offense, but right when you... God damn it, son of a bitch. Let me see. Copy the link, put it on my Google Keep. So no offense, Bones, but right when I was trying to open your post, I saw a different carousel. Unless it's the same carousel you sent me. Oh, no, it is. No, okay. It is. It's the same one. Okay, go. So let me do this. Beautiful. Beautiful, but can we blow it up? And this one actually lets me zoom in. Nice. Bam. A key lion. Posted this, provided by Bones, Skelly Bones. Thank you so much. So we got this look. All right. Okay, the buckle work is actually pretty nice on the utility belt. And does it look like it opens? That looks like a hinge. Functionable utility belt? The wrinkling on the abs right there is pretty nice. Vein work? All right, never mind. It's... Oh, god damn it. I was over here thinking that, I'm like, what is separated from Mafex? Oh. Never mind. And like I said, the texture work on the bases are pretty nice. Another look right there, although this one gets a little blurrier. Closer look at the dynamic one with the grimacing face. I don't know how I feel about the nose. The nose looks just a little peculiar, but I do like the half moon accessory to make it look dynamic, like it's flying, like in the comics. There's that red hood again. All right. Ooh, this looks nicer. Yeah. So just imagine this thing painted. But if anything, the detail that impresses me the most is the little bit of padding right here in the hood. Because those clothing materials are kind of difficult to execute. So I kind of like how they're doing it there. How are they going to implement the switching of the hood? Yeah, it looks like it's separator right there. It could probably pop off. But that's going to be interesting to see how that works. Oh, God, it looks great. It really does look great. Absolute Batman. There's that Batman Beyond. Looks a little nicer. Again, I'll admit that this Joker head sculpt, in terms of fidelity, does look a little nicer in this photo. But I think there's a little bit too much red smeared on the face. It's covering up a little bit too much of this bottom part. And the same critiques that I had before, I think he's a little too bulky. I think he has to be a little slimmed down. But apart from that, that's it. And hold on. The tooling, I guess it's separated right here. Yeah, this tooling right here is kind of strange. And it looks like this piece, so that's top part of the... God damn it. Yeah, see, I was scared this was going to happen. I hate this. This top part right here, where the tie is, it looks like that's glued to the jacket part, but then everything else is separated. Yeah, it has to be, because otherwise, how's it going to crunch? How's the crunch going to work? It has to be. It has to either be separated from here or from here. That Arkham Knight Catwoman got shown off again. There's here's another look at that Batfleck, and I'm telling you, this is, if you know how back during the E3 days, they would give awards for like game of the show, where they're like, hey, game's not out yet. This isn't a game of the year, but this is just what impressed us at the show. I would give something of that equivalent to this guy so far. Yeah. Sorry. Although I will admit, somebody pointed out that it's missing a little bit of texturing. Yeah, you could probably use... It's mainly carried by that likeness. I mean, look at that likeness. Holy shit. Pattinson, not bad, but it kind of needs a little bit of work on the unmasked head sculpt. And the chin on the cowled head sculpt doesn't really look too much like Pattinson. It kind of looks a little more like the stunt double. Needs to be a little bit more chiseled here. So yeah, I'll try to probably watch this segment back and kind of transcribe everything that I'm mentioning here and post it in the feedback. Arkham Knight Nightwing. And then something that I was about to go into a little bit before, but Batman was not the only Hush figure. They also showed off a prototype here, an articulated prototype of the Superman. That, now non-model kit, the model kit that is no longer a model kit because now they're actually pre-building it and selling it pre-built. So, okay. So that's it for that carousel. And then over here, again, that Nightwing, again, with the Excrema sticks. They did show off the Arkham Knight Azrael. I'm actually kind of surprised that they're tackling Azrael, so that'll be curious. And yeah, CM Bronk, I was wondering that myself. I was hoping not to misspeak or say the wrong thing, but even I was thinking about that myself. I'm like, he never took that off in the DLC, and I played the DLC. That's why I'm like, am I that old that I can't remember if he took that off? Because from what I remember, he never took that off. The only time he's unmasked is when he reveals himself in the core game. But as Red Hood, I don't think he ever took that off. I think that's just like a bonus figure thing that they're doing, where they're like, yeah, you're buying the figure, we might as well toss in this head. We already made the head sculpt for the Arkham Knight. That's already released. We might as well get our mileage out of it. Vampire Vine, welcome to the stream. It feels like McFarlane is just dumping everything they've had in production for DC while they still have the rights to sell them. Again, some of these figures showing up at Walmart when pre-orders are supposed to go live, the optics aren't 100% the greatest with that. But yeah, a prototype of Azrael. Not the biggest Azrael fan, but it looks like maybe, again, this could be like a good flex work to show how they do sculpting and detail-wise. Is that Tactical Batman again? Is there anything new in this one that I missed? No, there's that Red Hood again. I think we're kind of catching up, guys, because unless Spicy Side Dog has something else in his feed, apart from one little thing that I can maybe squeeze in here before I lose my voice. Guys, I think that's it. And, you know, even Spicy Side Dog is like, I don't know who made this pick, but I really appreciate how fast people can make the comparison. People that probably weren't trying to fall asleep or didn't have anything else going on, but somebody already put a graphic together here between the counterparts from UPF to InArt, and I think I might have said this before, but I think InArt might be doing a better Pattinson based on this updated look of the cowl, where I'm like, yeah, the face sculpt could use some work. So off of the first one, I'll say that actually InArt might get the Pattinson and has it. A little conflicted on the you know what? I think the InArt I might have to give even though Batflix showing at this event is my figure of the show. If we're just talking about these two here, between InArt and UPF Batflick, I'm gonna have to say, because of one little bias, I'm gonna have to give it to InArt. And the bias is that I actually did see the unarticulated but fully painted maquette prototype of the InArt 1/12 scale Batfleck at the San Diego Comic-Con offsite event last year. I have footage of it, footage and photos of it. And even through those photos, but even from witnessing it firsthand, it stopped me dead in my tracks. Not only Batfleck, but also the Cavill Superman from BVS in 1/12. The fact that they were able to nail those likenesses like that in 1/12, and on top of that, the body's got some slightly better proportions and better lining on that, like I said, on that prototype. In fact, let me see if real quick. I don't know how well I'm going to do here, but let me see if I could jump. Oh, beautiful. Show it to me. Guys. I mean, look at that. All they have to do is just put in the articulation, and that's almost a mini Hot Toys. Oh, and this guy, I think, recently just got released, right? Harry Potter. Here we go. This is what I'm waiting on. These photos right here. Look at that. And then even the Cavill Superman. So, going back to this post, where'd it go? This one. InArt kind of gets 2 out of 3. The Batflick, even though Batflick was my top showing of everything that UPF showed off at the event, if we disregard the rest of the event and just look at this direct comparison, I would say InArt's got the Pattinson and the Batflick. But personally, UPF has the absolute Batman. Because I gotta be honest, I don't like this overly done, overly busy, and slightly strange and off-kilter look that InArt's going for, because InArt's tackling the absolute Batman the same way that they're tackling they tackled the Red Death and the Batman Who Laughs, where they're taking their looks and just kind of over stylizing them to where they're technically not comic book accurate, but they're just going for like this very unique style. And at that point, it becomes subjective. If you like that look, go for it. And that's why here, there's no right or wrong. If you like the InArt look, go for the InArt look. But personally, when it comes to Absolute Batman, I'm looking at those two and I'm like, actually, UPF's got this one. So first do InArt for me, first do InArt, but then Absolute Batman goes to UPF. But that's me. What do you guys think? So would you recommend InArt or UPF for the Batfleck and Cavill Superman? Right now, at this moment in time, subject to change depending on what the prototypes and the official reveals go for and developments of the figure. Obviously, all that stuff can change. But if you were to ask me right now, InArt. Pack rat. And that's another thing too, CM Brock. You don't see InArt. Yeah, because that money that could go for those vehicles, that's going towards 1/6. Because my heart goes out to the 1/6 scale community for InArt, because they are still waiting on that Bale Batman that's been promised like 3 or 4 years ago. And we're barely getting Batfleck in 1/6. And that Bale Batman, like I said, was promised, I think, even before the Batfleck. I'm like, Jesus, guys. So yeah, I almost wouldn't even want them to do vehicles. Just focus on 1/6. Okay. So, a couple things to tackle here before I wrap up. One of which is yet another breaking news. It went live literally when I went to bed last night. Spicy Side Duck also showed off the first time that a company legitimately and directly announces a Fraction Jimenez 2025 Batman. And it's from none other than Fonjoy. Fonjoy through Red Note officially teases a Fraction Jimenez Batman. And here I'm thinking that maybe McFarlane's going to be the first one, or maybe even InArt or UPF. And out of all the companies, it's Fonjoy. Okay. I've fallen off a little bit off the Fonjoy bandwagon, but and that's the thing too, is that Fonjoy's been a little strange with the communication, because sometimes something goes up for pre-order, and then recently I think they finally released the black suited Cavill Superman that I hear is pretty good, but every time I'm thinking that's going to be good, I think something else comes out, and you have reviewers and people who have the figure in hand saying, this thing didn't work out. So Fonjoy's kind of been a little hit and miss. So I'm hoping that their Fraction Jimenez Batman could be a hit. It's just interesting to me that out of all the companies, it's Fonjoy that says, yeah, we're going to do the Jimenez Batman. And meanwhile, I'm over here hoping that during the Comic-Con panel, McFarlane finally says, yes, we've been making... Because, again, this look debuted last year. We're coming up on 1 year since the comic debuted. Next month is the 12th issue. And after that 12th issue, I may do a retrospective on the first year of the new Batman run. Still thinking about whether or not I'm going to do that. But I've still been collecting all the comics. And so far I've read all of them except 11. I haven't caught up on 11 yet. But yeah. So, can't really speak on this much since this is just a tease. Don't know if this is actually the figure. I don't think so. I think it's just like a rendered graphic, although the belt is looking like it is a figure. Covered up. But then the graphic on the bat symbol looks digitally made. So, no idea. but I'll keep my ear to the ground with this. Regarding FonJoy, it's been a bit difficult to keep up since it never really feels like there's this, like I said, intuitive flow of information from them. But you know who is giving you some information and you almost kind of wish that they didn't? McFarlane Toys giving us an incredibly sweaty Kratos. I figured I'd just squeeze this in at the tail end of the stream because yes, we are winding down here, but not before having a pretty good laugh at this Kratos. We finally got the Sony stuff. Sony ponies, Brian's new dishwasher. The God of War figures are here. After striking that deal, we first got the Helldivers, and now Kratos has officially been unveiled and up for pre-order. And I unfortunately could not give two shits. Spoilers, I did not pre-order any of these. They don't look that great. I personally don't think they look that great. Texture work, as McFarlane often does with stuff that has very leathery and buckly looks to it, the actual, it's literally the whole bottom half of the figure looks decent. And then you get to the top half and it just looks way too plasticky. It's one of the few figures where I'm like, out of all the figures to actually use the exact color of the plastic as instead of coating it in paint like you typically do, because that's what happened. That's why he's so shiny. You ask Skelly Bones, you're asking why he's so shiny because because he's ashy. This is the actual plastic. They usually, whenever it's a skin tone character that's like bare chested or whatever, they cover the plastic with the skin tone paint, and that's why it's got that matted finish. They didn't do that this time. Since the plastic is probably this original color, they're like, all right, just don't paint it, and that's why it looks shiny like that. And the only paint application is probably the red bit here on the side, and the scarring on his forearms, and the torso scar, and that's why it looks shiny. Unless I'm wrong, and unfortunately it didn't work because I don't like how this looks. And the face sculpt looks way... For a figure that is going for a whopping $35. $35, guys. Because it's got this flashy, nice little blue box. But all you get is the extra hands, the gripping hands, really. The axe, and then what was this again? I knew he had it in the 2018 game, but I legit cannot remember what it's called. They didn't even put a product. Oh wait, it's right here. Include the Bifrost. That's right, and then the base in the card. That's it for $35. This, get rid of the Bifrost, and then maybe the hands. Keep the axe and charge $25. That's what they should have done. And I think that should have been a bit more accessible. The optics would have looked like, oh, maybe I'll pick it up when I go on a Target run. But this is $5 more than the Mortal Kombat. And sure, you get accessories, but not $35 worth because you think of a Page Puncher or a collector's edition. But because it's gaming, again, God only knows if this was done by McFarlane or if it was done by Sony. Considering Sony's recent decisions, I wouldn't put it past them. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a 50-50 thing. I throw shade over to both McFarlane and to Sony for saying it has to be $35, but also to McFarlane for accepting the deal. They still said yes. They could have been like, no, we're just gonna make Helldivers and that's it. Now, as pointed out by one of you in the Pack Rat saying the Ares armor looked okay, but not for that. Yeah, because it gets even worse. Not only do you have this generic Herjar character that's meant to be like an army builder, which looks like it's the same goddamn body, only with some retooled bits here in the middle, and the armor and the head, same price, and all you get is, I think, the same quantity of accessories. Let me check. But I believe this is 35. Technically, I think you get less because you don't have the Bifrost. 35. But then you get the Elite Edition of the Ares armor. This is that big Elite Edition that comes with the axe and the Blades of Chaos, an extra pair of hands, the bonus Screaming Face, but it comes with the Ares armor. And I'm sorry, but it's funny because you would think I would say, oh yeah, this looks dope considering that it's red, it's my color clash. But that's like a bonus armor that you can kind of swap out to, and the shield. If you were to make an Elite Edition of a Ragnarok look, it should have been the one that's on the box with the wolf pelts and that extra like guard on his arm right there. That's the definitive look. This is something that you can swap out to because if you haven't played the game, you can, swap pieces and the look of Kratos depending on which armor set you go for. I like that he's got the screaming face. It wouldn't be Kratos without a screaming head, but you only get, okay, so it's the extra pair, the extra head, and the Blades of Chaos and the shield. You go from $35 to then $60, but you go with a look that you can't change, which is the armor set. Does $60 make sense? Pragmatically, yes. Is it enticing enough to want to pick up? No. If you do pick up, though, go to Walmart. Because for some weird reason, Walmart has it for $50, and it's still available. Still available. And you get it $10 cheaper. Free shipping. If you absolute must pick it up, but again, it's not a definitive look. And it also doesn't help that in the horizon, based on those leaks, which are almost all but true, based on those leaks, there's going to be a Greek era edition. But I remember, I don't know where the comment went, but somebody posted a comment saying, God forbid you use the same body of this guy on the, here, it's right here. I swear to God, if you reuse that fuck-ass upper body for the Greek era version, the fuck-ass, I love the phrase, the verb, or the term fuck-ass. It makes me laugh every time. I can't help but feel that they will. They're going to use the dad bod for the Greek era and just swap out the head. And give you the Blades of Chaos. It'll probably be the $35 version, not an Elite version, but lose the axe, you lose the head with the beard, you get maybe, the narrower legs that's going to have the skirt, the Greek skirt, but that top body, I wouldn't put it past them. It's probably going to just be this one. I'm already preparing myself. It's going to be this one, and they're just going to swap out the head for just the goatee and the angrier look and call it a day. And so that's probably why, even at $50, $10 cheaper, that Kratos, that Elite Edition Kratos is still up at Walmart because people are waiting on that Greek era to see what it looks like. Which, as mentioned before, it's probably going to get it at Comic-Con, realistically. We might get our first look at Comic-Con. Okay, guys, I am out of here. I'm most definitely out of here because I am starving and my throat is gone. My voice is gone. As it tends to do around this hour. But, guys, appreciate you all for tuning in. Thank you so much. Pretty girthy episode that we made it. Time will tell if there will be enough to talk about next week. I mostly talked about everything. I even managed to squeeze in, like I said, that Fonjoy tease. But I would say next week is shaping up to be a very lulled one. But, if my calculations are correct, 2 weeks from today, that 24th, don't be surprised if we do get a live stream then, because by then, preview nights of San Diego Comic-Con, some other things are probably going to be hinted at, and then probably by the time the live stream starts, McFarlane's panel at Comic-Con will be done. Marvel Legends' panel will be done, and you can bet your ass that online through Paternia, through Toyshiz, through any subreddit page imaginable, there's going to be photos of the panel. Hell, I did it when I went to go to the McFarlane panel at Comic-Con in 2024 by myself. When they unveiled the Batman Returns wave, I took photos of it, of the slide, which I know I'm not supposed to, but I did it. Literally right there on the floor, I posted them on Reddit, and it was probably one of the most upvoted posts I've ever put up on Reddit ever. I think it's probably my most voted one. I think I had like 400 updates, and yeah, did very well. Unfortunately, probably won't be doing that since, like I said, I'm not going to the actual show, but I will be checking social medias, and very likely there will be a live stream on the 24th to cover that, to cover those things. So undoubtedly, there will be McFarlane stuff to talk about then. I don't know about next week, whether it be McFarlane, UPF, unless UPF does like a live stream next week, because they did say that there's going to be more stuff to kind of talk about, or have like some kind of Q&A, maybe on Kaiju Daddy's stream again, or maybe through their own platforms or their own channels after this Gong Zhao event. But we'll have to remain vigilant and wait and see. So until then, guys, I'm sorry. Like I said, I don't know how some of these streamers like Maximilian Dude or a bunch of them do it, but holy shit, I wish I could talk much longer and hold my stamina a little longer and not have it be scorching hot in here. But Skelly Bones, Packrat, CM Bronk, Tony Katyat, Vampire Vine, Brian's New Dishwasher, The Amazing Raccoon, Kevbot, who gave a super chat earlier for $10. Much appreciated, man. Same thing to you, CM Bronk. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Leonard Dugas. Who else? I don't want to miss anybody. I said Tona Kayat. Kevbot, I already said that. And I think that's mainly about it. And then Brian's Jewels, whatever that was. Yeah, that's really about it. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Take care. But before I sign off, probably should have done this while I was signing off. Let me leave you with this. Hello? Oh, there you go. You guys can still hear me. Nice. All right, guys. Take care. And as always, stay humble.